A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Green.
So Jeremy, this weekend we've got not only do we have the NASCAR, we've got the Brickyard 400 coming up on Sunday. We have baseball practices kicking off again, which I know you're totally interested in. But we've also got the first national televised basketball since March. You don't care. You just don't care.
It's a bunch of dudes that I remember from like 2004 playing in a weird tournament thing. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch it.
You 100% will. I will be willing to put money on it.
I'm not going to say that I won't watch it. I'm just going to say I'm not going to be super enthralled.
The basketball tournament is what we're talking about as we celebrate our country's independence, one of the greatest inventions in our country's history. The Elam ending will be on full display.
Because we know that guy, I swear to God, you say that every opportunity you get, just solely because we know the guy.
I do. Well, it's not just because we know the guy. It's because I kind of like the Elam ending.
I like the guy, and the ending's fine.
Fine, yeah.
Okay.
Shout out to Professor Nick Elam. All right. And the Nathan's Hot Dog Contest. They're still going to do it. No fans. It's not going to be outside, but they're still going to do it. And Joey Chestnut says he's going to break a record.
It is the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. I watched it one time, and I didn't eat a hot dog for like 3 years after that.
Really?
Ugh. Watching people dunk hot dogs in water is just no. No,
it's not the best of ideas, obviously, but we've got actual stuff, pardon the pun, to chew on this weekend.
You're punny. You're very punny.
Look, my kids love my jokes.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, we were sitting on the couch the other day, and I made a joke just like that, and Josh looked over at Joseph and said, "Don't mind him. His jokes suck."
You're not wrong.
No, they're not wrong. They're not wrong, but I get a kick out of myself. All right, so I guess the place that we have to start is the biggest story in the NFL right now is with the Washington Redskins. Will they have to change their name? I believe now more than ever that they will. And my question now is just how soon it happens. Now that all of the sponsors are now getting into the requests for the team to change their name. Yesterday on the ESPN Asheville show, the Sports Tank with Jeremy Green, we talked about the fact that the federal government that owns land in Washington, D.C., where RFK Stadium once sat, which is where Daniel Snyder would like to move the team back to, seeing as how they are outside the immediate D.C. area now. The federal government has stepped in and said, if you want this land, you're going to have to change that name. Then the story came out last night that FedEx, the title sponsor of FedEx Field, has now requested for them to do so. And Nike, this morning, it's being discovered, has taken the Washington Redskins apparel off of all of its websites. You can go into the Nike store or whatever and search for the Washington Redskins, and it will turn up no results. And now there's pressure coming on Pepsi to get involved in this as well. So, Jeremy, do you think that it's going to come to a head pretty quickly?
I just for clarity's sake, FedEx did not say they were pulling out.
No.
Because they don't have the option. They're tied to this team for 5 more years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that deal runs through 2025. I would like to know how the Pepsi deal's worded. You know, if Pepsi pulls out on them, are they allowed to? Daniel Snyder is going to take this as far as he can. If he was just going to bend to sponsorship pressure, this is not the first time we've done this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's the first time Nike has gone as far as to pull their merchandise off their website, and Pepsi's come out and all these other things. And they did this because a group of investors came out and requested that they do that.
Right. FedEx, Nike, and PepsiCo each received letters signed by 87 investment firms and shareholders worth a combined $620 billion, asking for the companies to sever their ties with the team. That's not a good sign.
No, it's not. And if Daniel Snyder was just going to cave to this quickly, it would have happened 15 years ago. And everybody thinks that now, because the sponsors have pulled out, he's just going to bend. I don't see it. I see this being a prolonged thing. I mean, this is not new information. We talked about this for a quarter of a decade, or a quarter of a century. I was eventually going to get the period of time right. We've done this forever, so this is not new information. This is not, nothing's changed in this. And I just don't see Daniel Snyder, and I'm not saying this isn't what he should do. I'm saying this is what I think he's going to do. I think it's going to take actual significant dollars. FedEx has the dollars, but they can't get out of the contract because you signed a deal with this team named exactly what it is. So to say you're voiding the contract because now you've changed your mind, that's not how contracts work. So that's the one that I think has they have the pull with Washington to do this. The rest of them, I mean, okay, Nike pulled their merchandise off their website. You can still buy it on the NFL shop. You can still buy it on the Redskins website. You can. That doesn't necessarily affect them that drastically. I buy a ton of merchandise. I have never bought anything from the Nike website.
I want to come at it from the other side of this. You said this is a fight that Daniel Snyder has been fighting for a long time now. So is it time? How much longer can he hold out? I mean, he stood steadfast on this. We're not changing the name no matter what. But now you're finding that the economic mechanisms around your team are starting to deteriorate. And so, I mean, we all know it's a big cash business in the NFL. And if he loses the money, and he loses enough money, how much is that threshold?
Well, and that's the thing is that, and again, I'm not saying what he should do. What he should do, he should have changed it, in my opinion, 20 years ago. And he hasn't. He's been steadfast in that he's not going to. He's been steadfast in it is what it is. Get over it, basically. Yeah. That's been his mantra about this for as long as I can remember. What would it take? I mean, Daniel Snyder's a billionaire. One thing I have discovered about billionaires, it's very hard to get them to, it's hard to convince them to do something they don't want to do. And this is something he does not want to do. So if you're asking me how I think this plays out, I don't think anything changes. That's my opinion.
I think it changes, and I think it changes faster than you think. Obviously, I don't expect anything to happen this year.
I was about to say, it's like faster than I think. You have no shot of it happening before this season starts.
No. I don't think so. Although I would wonder if they would change something, something minor so quickly to just stop using it.
What are you going to call them? The Washington football team?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Just Washington football.
Not going to happen.
Until something changes.
Not going to happen.
Okay.
Now, could the NFL take that stance with it, that on their branding and on their, they're not going to use the logo, they're not going to use the team name. Could they do that? Absolutely. And that might push it into something that's, do I think they're going to do that this year? Absolutely not.
Right. There's so much, they've had so much time to think about this. And they have said that they don't want to change it, but I don't think they can hold out any longer. I really don't. I think that now all of the signs are there that Dan Snyder, if he really is truly wanting to get back into the DC area, obviously that RFK site makes a whole lot of sense to put a new stadium on. I feel like within, I'll call it next offseason, they'll try to put this in motion.
That has a possibility of happening. I'm not going to say I think it's very likely. I just don't think until, until there's a marked decline in the amount of money that Dan Snyder is making from this team, and that's FedEx pulling out. I mean, Pepsi has a deal with the NFL. Pepsi's going to. That's the thing that I don't think people are understanding. Pepsi signed the same deal that FedEx did, basically, because this was the team name when you signed it.
Right.
If Dan Snyder wants to push this, and it's just a question of, how much does he want to? How far down the rabbit hole does he want to go? Because nobody is going to get the pass if this turned into a legal action. You signed the deal with this being the team name. You can't just unilaterally decide 3 years, 5 years, however many years into a deal, well, changed my mind. That's not how contracts work.
Right.
So, I mean, it got us talking about it. And maybe that was the objective of FedEx and Nike and Pepsi is that people like us that do sports talk shows would start talking about this, and it would put the heat back on Dan Snyder. We've done that a bunch of times.
Yep.
In terms of losing dollars, you're years away from anybody that could possibly pull a dollar. Now, new deals, new sponsorships, things like that, I don't know when these deals run out. That's when I think you have more of an opportunity.
Right. I understand there's a lot of history involved with the Washington Redskins name, and obviously there are a lot of people that say don't even mess with it. It doesn't offend us. It's not a problem, and I'm not just talking about Redskins fans. I'm talking about Native Americans as a whole. I mean, there have been poll after poll after poll done in the last 20 years that the results show that overwhelmingly they favor keeping the name. Or many of them just say it's not an issue. Why are we dealing with this? But then you do have a sizable portion of the population that is offended. So if you have, I'll use the example that you used of the latest study from 2016 or whatever, that 79% of Native Americans said they're not offended by this. There are 21% that are. So is that enough to move the needle for people? That's going to be the question.
And, I mean, for Dan Snyder, he knew that 4 years ago. Nothing in that has changed in 4 years. Now, if a new study came out that said 100% were offended,
right,
well, then maybe that would change something. But I don't see information that we've had for years changing his mind. And Daniel Snyder, let's be really honest about who and what Daniel Snyder is. He really likes conflict. He's one of those people that believes there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
So for him, in the midst of, I mean, let's face it, there are no topics in sports right now. There aren't. We got 3 weeks until the games resume. That's when, if he can buy the news cycle by just not saying anything, that's what he's going to do.
Yeah. One of the most trusted voices in the NFL to me, or associated with the NFL to me, just as a father, as a human, and as a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, Tony Dungy weighed in on this, and he said it's time. That he understands the history, that maybe nobody understands the history more than him because he's such a student of the game and the history of the NFL, but that the time has come for this to be changed. And it's going to be, I hope it's not an ugly fight. That's all I'm hoping for.
With Daniel Snyder, I don't see how it's anything else. I really don't. I don't see.
Tells you nothing else.
Well, because what has changed? What is the tangible thing that somebody could take to Daniel Snyder and say, hey, this is what's changed from when we just talked about this, 4 years ago?
Right.
His stance was pretty clear. I'm not changing it.
Yeah. Well, you do have a more sensitive society now. In the wake of the George Floyd murder and everything that has happened in our country, this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and a lot of people are getting the idea of just, look, we've got to make changes, and if this is the next step in that, then so be it. I mean, I'm not a Redskins fan, so it doesn't hurt me for them to change their name.
I just, unless people stop going to the games, unless people stop buying the merchandise, unless I'm telling you, it will take a marked hit in his bottom line before he's going to change this.
This will not be the end of this discussion, by the way. I'm really surprised. I mean, this only started happening. The real push for this only started happening in the last 2 days. But bet your bottom dollar we're probably going to see a headline or something, sponsors getting involved with the Cleveland Indians real soon. I mean, that.
I don't know. That's
that
not a
one's
derogatory term.
It's not a derogatory term, but that logo is pretty controversial.
Yeah, and they don't use that logo very much anymore.
They don't, but it still exists. And so, and it is still used by the team in sort of a secondary manner now to the block C that we've seen them go more to on their hats and stuff. But I have a feeling that this is just the beginning of this. We have so many more fights in the mascot world to go down. And it's a fight that we've been fighting for, I mean, boy, I'm trying to think. We had a mascot kerfuffle at our high school when I was in high school. And that was 1996, 97, somewhere around that area. I think they're going to...
Think about what you just said.
Right.
All right, so we talked about this for 23 years. Nothing has changed in the last 3 days.
I get that.
I'm telling you, the guys that like Daniel Snyder that have been dedicated to, I'm not going to change this, nothing's changed for them.
Yeah.
So until something does change, to me, it's going to be a moot point. I understand Tony Dungy wanted it changed. I understand all these people wanting it changed. At the end of the day, it's not your call. Daniel Snyder owns the team. He can name them whatever he wants to. Now, and until there's backlash on it, he's not going to change that.
Mm-hmm. Along the lines of the NFL, I saw this story this morning. I wanted to get your thoughts on this as well, Jeremy, that the Cincinnati Bengals are apparently not finalizing offseason contracts for fear that the season may be canceled. The example used on the report that I was reading was Trey Waynes, the cornerback that they just signed or agreed to a deal with in the offseason, 3 years, $42 million. It included $15 million in guaranteed money. And now the Bengals are not allowing their team doctor to do physicals in his private practice because once the physical comes in, the deal starts.
Which one of the reasons that this is exponentially stupid do you want me to go down first?
Oh, I don't care.
You came out and said we're not letting the team doctor finalize this, so the contract can't be finalized. You basically just made the case for any player that wants to fight this.
Uh-huh.
You just handed it to them on a silver platter. Here you go. You have this. Also, if there's no season, you don't have to pay them. We've already been down this road.
But if it's...
Does it surprise you it's the Cincinnati Bengals?
Hell no.
That Paul
Not
Brown
at all.
and that whole syndicate of Cincinnati Bengals, nothing surprises me with them.
Yeah.
Nothing. It doesn't at all surprise me that he's the guy that goes, oh, if we don't finalize the contract, we don't have to pay. You don't have to pay him anyway, stupid. We've already been down. We've already been down this road. Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt.
But does that apply to the guaranteed money that's in the contract? Because I think that's what they're looking at. Is as soon as this deal comes official, they got to hand over a $15 million check.
So you agreed to the deal.
Mm-hmm.
None of that matters. None of it matters because you just came out and said, "Oh, we're not going to let our team doctor finalize it." What this sounds like to me is the idiot that tells his cellmate when he's awaiting trial on a murder, "Yeah, I killed her.
I did it.
I totally killed her."
Right.
Dum-dum, stop talking. I mean, it's stupid enough that you want to do this. The fact that you came out in the media and, yep, we're doing that. It's the most Bengals thing I think I've ever heard in my life.
Wayne's agent, Brian Murphy, said that he has told his client not to do any football drills, not to be working out too hard, not to get out, not to get out there in these practices or these walk.
Well, if his deal's not finalized, he can't do anything with the team.
Right.
So now there's the next dumb part of this. So now because you're not wanting to pay guaranteed money on a contract that you're going to have to pay it eventually anyway because you signed it, you're now telling me, and on a team that has flipped half the roster, now you're not going to let any of your free agent acquisitions be part of the super short minicamp? That's brilliant.
Right. But he can't do anything strenuous for fear that he might get hurt now.
Doesn't matter if he gets hurt now. You signed the deal. You signed the deal, and you
Okay.
came out and said, I'm intentionally not running through the physical. He could get his legs severed off by a shark. And Trey Waynes would say, if you had given me the physical in a timely manner when you could have, which you came out and said it, I was fine.
Okay. Because the concern that has been raised is whether or not Waynes is going to be in shape, by the time all of this starts, or by the time that they're ready to finalize the deal or whatever. Like, this is just the Cincinnati Bengals stepping on their own toes.
Here's the thing. All right, let's say Trey Waynes comes into camp and can't pass physical. If there is so much as a social media picture of him in shape, there won't be an agent in the NFL that doesn't tell their clients, don't even talk to the Bengals.
Yep.
We're done. We're done with the Bengals. We're not even going to do it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the unthought of risk. I'm going to assume Paul Brown can't be that stupid. I mean, history would say he could be, but you have to know that the rest of the league watches this. You're not a free agent destination anyway because you're in Cincinnati, Ohio,
right?
Which is awful.
Is all of Ohio just awful?
None of it's great.
Okay.
There's bad and there's more bad. Cleveland is the most bad.
Except for Flavortown. Flavortown, that's going to be where we need to be.
Why does it not shock me that he likes Guy Fieri?
I love Guy Fieri.
I was aiming for a fat joke there and it just didn't. It's a holiday weekend. I'm tired.
The bullets are out of your gun right
Yeah,
now?
I'm tired.
Over in the NBA, they're talking about a second bubble now being erected and in Chicago, of all places, and it's going to apparently include all of the teams that were not included in the 22-team comeback. So we've got the 8 worst teams in the league that are going to be given an opportunity apparently in September to get back onto the floor and do some, intra-squad stuff. They talked about exhibition games between all of the teams. Yeah. I just don't. I understand from a competitive standpoint, this has been talked about a lot. The teams like the Bulls and the Knicks and the Hornets, and, they're going to be, if they don't have something like this, they just wait till next season, then that means they haven't had any organized competition for like 9 months. And I realize they don't want to do that, but is this going to be something that you'll watch?
I don't know if you'll have the ability to watch it. Here's what it tells me definitively. That Adam Silver, we're not full steam ahead, bullshit. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
You feel good enough that now you're talking about doing a second one for the bad teams? Mm-hmm. You are 100% full steam ahead. This is going to happen. And I said yesterday on the ESPN show, I think short of an absolute catastrophe, there is nothing that is going to stop this NBA return.
I agree with you. I agree. It's going to have to get real bad for them to.
I'll go out on a
this thing
limb.
down.
I'll go out on a limb. Somebody will have to die.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
You think it'll go that
I
far?
think it's that far. I think they're that far into this. If a player winds up in the hospital, that's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And now that the PGA Tour came out before the tournament this weekend and said all you have to do, all right, let's say you contract it, you test positive. All you have to do now is 2 negative tests outside of a 24-hour span. And I think the NBA is going to adopt that. Mm-hmm. Because all of the qualms and all of the issues that we've had with what happens if LeBron gets it, what happens if Giannis gets it, that takes it all away.
Well, they already have that kind of built into these rules of.
Now, the NBA's is 10 days.
Yeah,
that's huge because that could be a whole series.
But I think there's also a part in that comeback in the what are we calling it? The doctrine or the handbook or whatever that they handed out. I think there was part of that in there was you test positive, you go into isolation. Then you're tested again within 24 hours. And if that comes back negative, then you'll be tested again within another 24 hours. If that one comes back negative, I think you could come back immediately.
That's not the way the NBA is written.
Oh,
the
okay.
NBA is written as once you test positive, you are not tested again for 10 days.
Really?
Yes. That was the original manifesto is what I was calling it. That's the word you were looking for.
Yeah, there you go.
This changes everything because, see, we didn't have the ability.
Mm-hmm.
The testing, we're talking a month ago. The testing was not good enough that you could validate 2 negative tests in a 24-hour period. Well, now it is. And that changes everything. That takes the bulk of the hang-ups that we've had about this.
Right.
All right, you test positive, you go in isolation. If you're over it in 2 days, which you very well could be. I mean, Cameron Champ had it on Friday of last week. He was fine by Wednesday. Because as a matter of fact, he was fine by Tuesday because he had a negative test on Tuesday.
Right.
This takes a lot of that asterisk talk away. Because if a LeBron, if a Giannis, if a whoever gets it, now it's not, oh, you're going to miss 10 days. And all right, you get it after game 1, and now you might not be back till game 6. That's all gone.
Yeah.
Because now we have the technology, we have the ability, we have the things that will work. That was a huge story to me. And the fact it got buried with all the negative nonsense that we've been inundated with by the media, the fact that wasn't more talked about blows my mind.
It doesn't blow my mind because that doesn't sell. Solutions don't sell.
They do for me. They sell like hell to me.
Well, of course. But for the most part, I mean, this is how media has worked since its inception. Bad news travels quicker, and it gets more attention, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, the thing for me is, I'll be honest with you, I'm tired of talking about how the coronavirus comeback is going to work. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing about it.
Right.
You know, I'm over it. All right, now it's time to actually do something, and I guess I'm looking at the NBA going, you have the best plan, and it's not close. I have issues with the baseball, and then I think back to Buster Olney saying there's a 0% chance the season comes to a conclusion. What good did that just do? What good did you saying that do? And I understand you were asked a direct question. Right. I get that. If you really think there's 0% chance we finish this, you're an idiot. And that's as clear as I can say it. You said that to be over the top, and so we talk about it for 3 days. Period. There's no other explanation for that. There's a better than 0% chance that I learned to fly by the end of the weekend.
I don't know about that, but I mean,
I don't think you know how freaked out I am by flying things.
So you think just because you're afraid of flying things that you're going to learn how to fly
Yes.
yourself?
Yes.
It's not how biology works. You're not built to fly.
I'm not built to fly. I'm not built for most things that involve athletic ability.
Yeah. If anybody in this life was going to learn how to fly as a human, it
Elon
definitely
Musk
would not be a 6'5", 340-pound man.
340? Good Jesus. Did you get your lab report and did you do it mine?
I just figured if I put my weight on your body, it would make me sound better.
Yeah, it would.
It would.
It would.
It would. Let's talk about Antonio Brown for a minute, because I keep seeing these reports of Antonio Brown being linked with every damn team in the NFL.
I've only heard one. Consistently.
Here's the latest. Everybody jumped on the fact that Deshaun Watson replied to a tweet that somebody put out about Antonio Brown would be a good fit with the Houston Texans, and he replied with a meme of Drake in the limo rolling down the window. And everybody's jumping on this like, oh, Deshaun Watson wants Antonio Brown.
Of course he does. Of course he wants Antonio Brown. He has no receivers. None. The one there is Brandon Cooks.
Yep.
The two is Kenny Stills. Of course he wants Antonio Brown. Not going to happen. Not under any circumstances going to happen.
You don't think the Houston Texans will do that? I mean,
not as long as Bill O'Brien's the one making decisions. No. He got rid of one problem child. And I got news for you. If you thought DeAndre Hopkins was a problem child,
you got another thing coming.
Antonio Brown is a whole new level.
Right. I just think I think it's funny that we're still having all of this talk about Antonio Brown, and everybody is just, he's such a transcendent talent, and I'm not doubting that. I mean, he is.
You can't doubt
that.
Right.
He was one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But all of the off-the-field issues that he's had, I mean, the NFL is still apparently investigating 3 different claims against him for off-the-field issues. I mean, do you think that just gets dropped? Because you've said you think Antonio Brown gets on a team.
Absolutely. He's on a roster week 1. I have no doubt of that. None.
But does the NFL just drop all of this other stuff, or?
They have way bigger issues to worry about right now than what Antonio Brown did. We all know he's a dumpster fire.
Right.
He sat out a year. I mean, you've let failed drug test guy come back after a year. Josh Gordon, how many times he come back? 14? Josh Gordon's failed like 76 drug tests, and he's filing for reinstatement. You can't keep Antonio Brown away just because he's a train wreck.
I'm gonna have to disagree, because to me, I mean, it's a completely...
Okay, give me the example of the player that's ever happened to before. I'll wait. I'll save you the time.
Yeah.
There's not one.
Yeah. Well, that's...
There's
you got
not
a fair
one.
Point. You got a fair point.
I mean, we've kept failed drug tests. That's tangible evidence.
Right.
Are there any charges against Antonio Brown?
Existing charges?
Yes.
I don't.
The answer's no.
I don't know.
The answer's no.
Okay.
There is nothing pending against him. He was arrested. The charges, I don't know if they were dropped or if the court system just stopped working. I don't know.
Right, with the assault on the delivery truck driver.
But it has not been referenced again.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you want? Accusations keep you out of the league?
No.
Kareem Hunt missed 10 games because he kicked a woman in the head. Antonio Brown missed a season. We're done.
Yeah.
If a team signs him, he will be on the field week 1, and I firmly believe a team's going to sign him.
Do you still think it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks?
Yes.
There was a video today. I don't know if it was from a practice that happened yesterday or what, but it was Russell Wilson and Antonio Brown playing catch.
He's still he's still a very good receiver. I don't know if missing a year. I mean, he played one game with Tom Brady, caught 2 touchdowns, or caught a touchdown. Was it just one?
One.
It was against my team, so I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Or no, that was against Miami. That was against Miami.
I remember.
I just watched it because I wanted to. I was so angry that Tom Brady had wound up with Antonio Brown.
Right.
And then that didn't go well.
Well, Antonio took care of that for you.
Yeah. And, that hadn't been a good 20. It hadn't been a good 12 months for the New England Patriots. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
He's going to be on a team. There's zero doubt in my mind that Antonio Brown will be on a team. And it's not going to be the Ravens because that doesn't make any sense. I keep hearing, I have heard Baltimore. I'm hearing it less now, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you put a prodigious slot receiver, and he's not real big. He's a decent enough blocker, but he's not real big, on a team that's going to run the ball 70% of the time? Why would you deal with the headache for a guy that's going to get 6 targets a game? You wouldn't.
No.
And John Harbaugh knows that. John Harbaugh's a smart guy. So I don't see him in Baltimore, but I think the Seattle interest is real, and I think the possibility of that is also real.
All right, we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I think more signs point to you're right, but I just constantly think that this is funny when we go through these and everybody's outraged over the off the field antics of certain players, and then all of a sudden it's just we'll just forget that those things ever happened. College basketball, we had a big announcement for one of the top recruits in the country. Makur has decided that he is committing to go to Howard University, committing to a historically black college. And in his statement, he said he hopes that he starts the trend here, that he hopes other top prospects will start going to or committing to HBCUs. He had the opportunity to go to some big programs.
UCLA, Kentucky, and Memphis were the other Final Four.
Yeah. So he had the opportunity to go to some other big programs. He's decided that Howard is the choice. Now, this is a guy who is eligible for the draft.
He's in the draft right now.
Yes, his name is in the hat to be drafted. But they're saying that he's going to pull out if he doesn't get assurances that he's going to be a first-round pick.
Which he's not.
He says he doesn't apparently want to go the G League route, where he could make $500,000 for next year and play there and then be drafted the next year. And now he's choosing to go to a historically black college.
I mean, I hope he does. I don't really believe that he'll ever step foot on campus. This is the third of the makers. So we had Thon Maker, Matur Maker, and Maker Maker. I have, to this day, no clue where Matur Maker is. He was supposed to go to Oregon. He was supposed to go to all these other places. I want to say he's in the G League now.
Okay.
I hope Maker, and yes, I do call him Maker, or Maker Squared.
Maker Squared.
I hope he actually does step foot on campus at Howard. I've always said I don't understand why some of these higher level guys don't go to a school where they can be the man. I have crushed some of these guys that have gone to Kentucky and washed out. And then you're sitting there after your freshman year, you were a top 25 recruit, and now you have nowhere to go because Calipari is constantly giving away your scholarship. Because he just assumes that every player that he brings in is going to be gone after a year. I've never understood why players don't do this. I hope that it does happen. I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to happen.
Just because the opportunity would be greater somewhere else, or?
No, I don't think he's going to go somewhere else. I'm not sure he's not going to stay in the draft.
Right.
That's what they said he wants a first-round assurance, and that's not coming. He's 75 on the ESPN big board right now. There's a lot to like about him. But then you have to look at there's a lot to not like too. I look at his cousin Thon. Thon Maker was a guy that anybody that followed recruiting and high school sports, we thought he was going to be special.
Right.
He had point guard skills as a 7-foot big man. And then he got to the league, and it's been just a disaster. I mean, when he's on the floor, the plus minus is atrocious. And for better or worse, that's going to get held against Maker. It got held against Makur.
I hope he does. I hope he does come through with this, because there has been that push. We saw Mikey Williams, who's one of the best, was it 2022 class maybe? Yeah. I think he's a sophomore in high school, talking about that that right now he is eyeing a historically black college. And I want to see it come to fruition. I want to see this more of a thing with these guys committing to the historically black colleges, and because the big push is let's keep the money within our community. And I agree with that. I think it's a great route for them to go down, and it can only improve the quality of HBCU basketball, because it doesn't get much publicity right now outside of the black community.
I don't know that it's going to be a push. I don't know. I said I never thought it would happen.
Right.
So, Maker, it makes it officially one more than I would have thought that this would ever happen.
Right. And he said, I started the trend of saying that I was, I'm a top prospect. I'm going to consider going to an HBCU. And so I've got to back up what I said. If I'm not going to stay in the draft and I'm not going to go to the G League,
I would have felt better.
I would be more of I think he's coming from it, but I would be a hypocrite for saying, okay, now I'm going to UCLA.
I would have felt better if he'd pulled his name out of the draft when he did this.
Right.
It bothers me that he didn't do that. Because, it's not like you're going to get any more information here. You've got the information you're going to have. The NBA is on to other things. The scouting departments are still scouting and things like that, but, your tape's out. It's not like you're going to play another game that they're going to see and go, oh, this changes our mind. It's bothersome to me that he didn't pull his name out of the draft. As a matter of fact, I've never actually seen a guy do that. Of all the prep guys that have had the ability, they played a prep year so they could go into the draft, I've never seen one commit to a school and not pull out of the draft. That makes zero sense to me.
Well, I guess you got to keep all your options open.
Then why do you commit? This is, for me, this is a bigger, it's not a bigger topic, it's just it leads into a different topic.
Okay.
He's actually a really good case in point of why I think college basketball is going to be a disaster this year. You've got decisions. So we'll use Howard, for example. Howard, he would be the best player on that team. No doubt, it's not close. They don't even know if he's going to show up on campus. They might be 95% sure, but you don't know. And you've got guys, ESPN just did a story the other day about the 15 biggest decisions left for college basketball. It's the 3rd day of July. So say somebody stays in the draft you don't expect, or somebody comes back that you don't expect. We're going to have issues here.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've had to make contingency plans. And there are guys that are going to not hear what they want to hear in the draft that are going to pull out that may or may not have a scholarship ready. And I'm not saying they're not going to, if they were in the draft, they're not losing their scholarship. But there's going to be, you can only have so many. And we've already gone through the recruiting cycle, and everything's already happened. Mm-hmm. This was one of the big headaches I said about the NBA coming back. It's why originally I said there was no shot they were going to. Little did I know that, I did know, but I didn't realize it was this bad. The NBA doesn't really give a damn what happens in college basketball. That's just that's just their minor league system.
That's their feeder program.
I would have never thought that they cared that little of the headache that they're putting college basketball through.
Right. It is going to be a headache. But, you had Rick Pitino tweeting out yesterday that they need to push the college basketball season back to January. And not only should they push the season back to January, but they should only play in-conference games. I don't see how that's a benefit.
Well, it's not a benefit when you got teams that are in conferences that are halfway across the country. I always go to West Virginia, has to play Oklahoma.
Right.
That's a conference game for them.
Right.
So I don't understand the push for, let's push it back to January. Okay, what's going to change in January?
Well,
what's the difference?
The hope Pitino is having there is that he's relying on what we're hearing from federal officials that we may have a vaccine for the coronavirus.
And 1 in 3 people said they won't take it. What does it matter? Literally, they just did a poll on this, and 1 in 3 people said I won't take a vaccine if we have it.
Yeah.
You can't. I literally feel like a broken record saying this. You can't make people do things that they don't want to do. So, all right, so a third of the country is not going to take a vaccine. So what does that change for you? Mm-hmm. It screws everything. It's almost like I feel like certain leagues and people want to just keep kicking this can down the road until, I don't know what you think is going to happen, but we're just going to kick the can down the road and keep pushing the problem away. No, we've done that. We're in month 5 now of doing that. 2020 has been the year of kick the can down the road, and it has to at some point stop. College basketball has to go off on time. College football has to go off on time because you just create more problems. I've said this about the NBA. You can attest to this. I've said it every time this return thing has come back.
Yep.
I don't have an issue with how they're returning. I have an issue with what it affects for the next 10 years because now you've altered the schedule, which affects college basketball. It affects the G League. It affects the NBA. It affects what you're competing against. And I feel like you're taking what should have been a short-term problem, and you're spanning this out further and further and further and further until you're going to eventually turn this into a 5-year problem.
And that's exactly what it's going to be. We've got October the 12th, 13th, I've seen both reported as the last day of the NBA season if the NBA Finals goes to a 7th game. And then you've got, what did we count that? It was like 9 weeks of an off season before they want to ramp back up in December.
But now think about this. So they're talking about a second bubble with the 8 teams that didn't make it. Mm-hmm. That's in September.
Yep.
The NBA season, if it's over, will just be over at that time.
Well, it won't be over. It'll be during the deep run of the playoffs. If they're ending on October the 12th, these guys kick up and say September 1st.
They're not going to stop. You understand that, right?
What do you mean?
So the 8 teams that are in that bubble, it's not like, we'll let you play games till the season ends and then you get 9 weeks off. That's not how this is going to work.
Do you think this is going to be a bridge to the next season?
100%. 100%. But see, I don't think any of these games are going to be televised or anything like that.
Okay.
Because I don't think anybody cares. This is the 8 worst teams in the league.
You at least put it on NBA TV, I would think.
Might. I even doubt that, but you might.
Right. You've got the network. You might as well.
Well, that is why you have a network.
Right.
But, this is going to be, all right, you haven't played since March. This is your chance to get back in shape. You're not going to say, shut it down for another 9 weeks.
Yeah.
That's an added problem. I'm not complaining about the second bubble. Please do the second bubble. Do 4 bubbles. I don't care. Just play. Just do something. Do something that I can talk about.
We're at the point where everything is coming back, and like I said, this weekend we've got it chock full with all kinds of stuff.
For the love of God, we're talking about the Redskins.
Yep.
We're 2 days away from should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Don't do it. I'll hit you. I will hit you so damn hard. I will.
You don't want to do
Independence
this right now?
Day.
You don't want to do this right
no.
now? Okay. All right.
No, that was a joke. It was a joke. It's the same topics that we always wind up in the slow cycle of sports. Well, now we've been in the slow cycle of sports for 5 months.
Right.
I want to talk about real games. I want to talk about things that, on-court things.
Yes. I agree with you.
And if you so help me, God, if you bring up Pete Rose to me again.
I'm not going to bring up Pete
I
Rose.
feel like I planted the seed. Now Monday he's going to be like, well, we could talk about should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame.
I probably will say it just to
piss me off.
Just to piss him off, because that's what I do. But now this weekend we've got the racing in Indianapolis, so
which is going to be fantastic. I'm really happy that we're racing it. I mean, we lost it on what was that, Memorial Day? So we lost the Brickyard and the Indy 500 on Memorial Day. Now we're going to get the Brickyard on July 4th. I'm totally okay with that, and I think it's going to be a good race. I think it's going to be a fun race. I think that's a super weird track that weird things tend to happen on, and I'm excited about it. That's a nice little cap to that and the golf. That's my nap time. We've been over this.
Right.
When the golf comes on, my kids now look at me because they saw this show where I was talking about Jim Nance, and every time I lay my head down on a pillow on the couch, my middle child grabs him by the arm and goes, "Hello, friends. We're coming to you live."
I love her so much.
Oh, she's
fantastic.
She's a trip.
She is fantastic.
She's Jim Nancing me every time I lay my head down, and I think it's
great.
hilarious.
That's great. Yeah, we've got the Rocket Mortgage Challenge is this weekend.
Yes.
That's the one they're doing up in Detroit. Then we've got the Brickyard 400. We've got the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest that is going to be. It's not going to be at Coney Island like it usually is, but I thought these comments from Joey Chestnut were very nice. He said that he's out to break a record this year. The record he set 2 years ago: 74 hot dogs in 5 minutes. Is it 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
No, it's got to be more than that.
I think it's 10 minutes. I don't know. Anyway,
I'll look it up while you're talking.
74 hot dogs is the record that he set 2 years ago, and he says the fact that they're not going to be outside and doing this, that they are going to be in an enclosed arena. There's going to be air conditioning. There will be no fans. He says there's going to be fewer eaters. So the fact that there are fewer eaters means that they are going to be making fewer hot dogs, and that part of the record-breaking mix here is that the hot dogs may taste better. Now, I've got real problems with that because I'm pretty sure if you're shoving 74 hot dogs down your gullet in a short amount of time, you're not really tasting those hot dogs anyway. So I would feel like that's a bit of a lie.
It's 12 minutes, by the way.
12 minutes, thank you.
I knew that number couldn't possibly be right. I don't think you can throw 74 hot dogs in the garbage disposal in 5 minutes. You sure as hell can't do it in mine.
No, it would be a challenge. It definitely would be a challenge. But the fact that they're still going to have this, I think, is just another sign that everybody is trying to get some sense of normalcy out of this. And I think this weekend is going to be one of the benchmark weekends of this return.
I'm hoping it's the turning point. You know, the halftime was, what, 2 days ago?
Yep.
2 days ago was halftime. We can still come back from this. I need this to be better. I don't ever want to hear the coronavirus word again, ever.
Well, you're out of luck on that one.
I will put my fingers in my ears and hum Tiny Dancer. I don't care. I'm done with it. I want sports. I want dumb things like the hot dog eating contest. I want it all.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to get it. You're going to get it all this weekend, plus the first nationally televised basketball since March. I don't care that it's 3-on-3 basketball or whatever. I do not care. Joe Johnson has been inserted into the lineups of one of the favorites for the basketball tournament that starts tomorrow, and I'm okay with it. Like, I will watch the big three at this point. That's how desperate I am.
Yikes.
Yeah, and it's bad. I've tried to watch the big three, and it ain't good. But at this point, if this is all you're giving me, I'm all in. Team CP3, let's go. Let's do this.
I don't even think I'm at the point of watching the big three. I'm just ready for it to. I'm so excited for this weekend. We have things, I'm sad that I don't know that there's going to be fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked all over for fireworks, and I can't find them.
There are fireworks in every neighborhood every night, apparently. This is a thing that I've seen repeated on Facebook numerous times. It's not happening where I am, but I imagine, I guess, you can find them somewhere.
My lovely wife's birthday is tomorrow, and she loves fireworks. So if anybody knows of fireworks, just, at @JGreenESPN on Twitter.
Let's keep it on the down low so everybody can still have their fun this weekend. But yeah, I feel like we are at a turning point. I feel like the hope is there for America. And I want everybody to go out and be responsible if you're going to go out. Stay at home as much as possible. And if you're going to go out,
don't stay home. I will tell you to be irresponsible. I will tell you to blow up a small part of your nation, to celebrate it. Celebrate your nation's independence by blowing up a small part of it.
That sounds horrible.
It's from The Simpsons.
Oh, okay. That's all right. That sounds like a call to terrorism, and I'm not here for it.
No, just like the woods. Just
please don't set fireworks off in the woods. That's bad advice.
I never said I was giving good advice. I said this is America, and it's July 4th.
Love your neighbors. Celebrate responsibly. If you're gonna go out, wear your damn mask. Stay away from each other. I was gonna say it, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna end our week by ticking Jeremy off and using those words that he doesn't like. So stay away from each other, and remember what Independence Day is all about. Any closing thoughts?
Happy July 4th. Happy birthday to my lovely better half. Looking forward to a good weekend of sports, and you know what I am. I'm going to end this the same way I ended our last ESPN show yesterday. Just be nice to each other for 3 damn days. I see all the arguments and issues that I've seen in public. Don't be rude to the waiter at a restaurant. Don't be rude to the gas station attendant, whoever it is. They're not the one making you wear a mask. They're enforcing the shit. They don't like it any more than you do. And being rude to them just makes you a jerk. And jerks go to
hell.
There you go.
That's it.
So enjoy the weekend. Have fun. Drink a beer. Wear your damn mask. And happy July 4th.
Thanks for joining us here in the Sportsocracy. Don't forget to like it, share it, follow it all over the social media sites at the Sportsocracy, thesportsocracy.com as well. Have a happy Independence Day weekend. We will see you on Monday.